The year was 1978. Disco was king, Jimmy Carter was president, and I'm your host, Jay. Welcome to the 5th episode. Let's dive in. And the FBI was about to launch one of its most audacious operations yet. ABSCAM. This sting operation targeted political corruption, leading to the convictions of a senator, 6 congressmen, and other public officials. The scandal sent shockwaves through the nation, raising questions about government integrity. ABSCAM's premise was simple: offer bribes for political favors. The FBI created a fictitious Arab sheikh, willing to pay for influence. They uncovered massive corruption. ABSCAM remains a debated operation in FBI history. It exposed the dark side of American politics, but also pushed ethical boundaries. The operation's legacy continues to spark debate. This is a story of greed, deception, and power. It's about exposing corruption and ethical dilemmas. Decades later, it still challenges our understanding of justice. To understand ABSCAM, we need to rewind the clock to the 1970s. This was a turbulent era for the FBI, marked by the death of J. Edgar Hoover and the revelations of illegal surveillance programs. In the wake of these scandals, the Bureau was under intense pressure to restore public trust. One way the FBI sought to do this was by shifting its focus to white-collar crime and political corruption. Undercover operations, once considered a last resort, became increasingly common. These operations were often risky and complex, requiring agents to assume false identities and infiltrate criminal networks. The FBI's growing reliance on undercover work was driven in part by a belief that traditional investigative techniques were inadequate for tackling sophisticated criminal enterprises. There was a sense that to catch the big fish, you had to think like the big fish. This shift in strategy paved the way for ABSCAM. It was a natural outgrowth of the FBI's evolving approach to law enforcement, one that embraced risk-taking and deception in the pursuit of justice. But as we'll see, this aggressive approach would come with its own set of ethical and legal challenges. ABSCAM was a complex operation with a cast of characters worthy of a Hollywood thriller. At the center of it all was Melvin Weinberg, a convicted conman turned FBI informant. Weinberg was a master manipulator, a charismatic rogue who could smell a mark a mile away. The FBI saw in Weinberg a valuable asset, someone who could gain the trust of his targets and lure them into their trap. Weinberg, in turn, saw an opportunity to leverage his skills for a chance at redemption. He became the architect of the ABSCAM scheme, using his underworld connections to identify potential targets and craft believable scenarios. On the other side of the law was a team of dedicated, if somewhat unconventional, FBI agents. They were tasked with managing Weinberg, a loose cannon at best, and navigating the murky waters of undercover work. These agents were driven by a desire to root out corruption, but their methods would be tested as the operation spiraled beyond their control. And then there were the targets themselves, a mix of congressmen, senators, and local officials, each with their own motivations and vulnerabilities. Some were blinded by greed, easily swayed by the promise of easy money. Others were more reluctant participants, caught in a web of their own making. ABSCAM unfolded like a carefully orchestrated play, with Weinberg as the director and the FBI agents as the stagehands. It all began with a simple convince corrupt officials that they were dealing with representatives of a wealthy Arab sheikh looking to invest in the United States. Weinberg, posing as a consultant, would approach his targets with offers they couldn't refuse, cash bribes in exchange for political favors, such as introducing private immigration bills or influencing zoning permits. The meetings were held in luxurious settings, often hotel rooms outfitted with hidden cameras and microphones. To make the scheme more convincing, the FBI created an elaborate backstory for their fictional sheikh, complete with a phony company and a team of operatives. They even went so far as to stage a meeting between one of the targets and an FBI agent posing as the sheikh himself. As the operation progressed, the stakes got higher. The amounts of money being offered increased, and the targets became more brazen in their willingness to abuse their power. What began as a sting operation targeting small-time corruption had snowballed into a major scandal implicating some of the highest levels of government. The ABSCAM scandal broke in February 1980, and its impact was immediate and explosive. The media, hungry for a sensational story, seized on the revelations of corruption and greed. Headlines screamed about Arab sheikhs and bribes for favors. The public was captivated by the audacity of the scheme and the spectacle of powerful figures brought low. Night after night, news programs aired grainy footage from the FBI's hidden cameras. The images were damning, impossible to explain away. The scandal dominated the news cycle for weeks, overshadowing even the upcoming presidential election. The media coverage of ABSCAM was both a blessing and a curse for the FBI. It shone a spotlight on political corruption, but raised questions about the Bureau's tactics. The ABSCAM scandal was a watershed moment in the relationship between law enforcement, the media, and the public. It demonstrated the power of the media to shape public opinion and hold those in power accountable. But it also highlighted the potential for sensationalism and the need for responsible reporting. While the ABSCAM operation was successful in exposing corruption, it also ignited a firestorm of controversy over the FBI's methods. Critics argued that the Bureau had gone too far in its use of deception and entrapment. They questioned the ethics of using a convicted conman like Melvin Weinberg and accused the FBI of essentially manufacturing crime by creating a situation where otherwise law-abiding citizens felt pressured to break the law. The debate over ABSCAM's tactics centered on the fine line between legitimate undercover work and entrapment. Entrapment occurs when law enforcement agents induce someone to commit a crime they would not have otherwise committed. The FBI maintained that it had not crossed that line, arguing that the targets in ABSCAM were predisposed to corruption and that Weinberg had merely provided them with the opportunity to act on their criminal intent. The ethical dilemmas raised by ABSCAM were complex and multifaceted. On the one hand, the FBI was tasked with upholding the law and protecting the public from corruption. On the other hand, the Bureau's pursuit of justice should not come at the expense of its own integrity or the fundamental rights of citizens. The legal fallout from ABSCAM was swift and severe. Of the 31 public officials targeted in the operation, 26 were convicted on various charges, including bribery, conspiracy, and obstruction of justice. The convictions sent shockwaves through the political establishment, leading to resignations, expulsions, and a loss of public trust in government. The ABSCAM trials were high-profile affairs covered extensively by the media. The defendants included some of the most powerful men in the country, and their downfall captivated the nation. The trials also brought to light the inner workings of the FBI's undercover operation, exposing both its successes and its excesses. While the ABSCAM convictions were seen as a victory for law enforcement, they also raised concerns about the potential for abuse in undercover operations. The sentences handed down to the convicted officials varied widely, leading some to question whether the punishment fit the crime. The ABSCAM scandal had a profound and lasting impact on the FBI and the way law enforcement agencies conduct undercover operations. In the wake of the scandal, the Department of Justice implemented stricter guidelines for undercover work, including greater oversight, more stringent approval processes, and limits on the use of informants. The ABSCAM case also led to a reassessment of the FBI's relationship with informants. Melvin Weinberg, the mastermind behind ABSCAM, was a controversial figure, a con man who operated in a legal grey area. His success in exposing corruption raised questions about the ethics of relying on such individuals and the potential for abuse. While ABSCAM led to reforms within the FBI, it also sparked a broader debate about the balance between effective law enforcement and the protection of civil liberties. The case highlighted the tension between the need to investigate and prosecute crime and the importance of safeguarding individual rights. Decades after the ABSCAM scandal first rocked the nation, its legacy continues to shape our understanding of political corruption, law enforcement ethics, and the role of the media in holding power to account. The case serves as a cautionary tale about the seductive nature of power, the allure of easy money, and the importance of transparency and accountability in government. ABSCAM also left an indelible mark on the FBI, forcing the Bureau to confront the ethical implications of its tactics and leading to reforms designed to prevent future abuses. The scandal underscored the importance of strong internal controls, rigorous oversight, and a commitment to upholding the highest ethical standards. The lessons learned from ABSCAM continue to resonate today as we grapple with new challenges in the fight against corruption, from campaign finance reform to the influence of foreign governments in our elections. The scandal serves as a reminder that vigilance is essential in safeguarding our democracy and that no one, regardless of their position or power, is above the law.